Hello, friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. All right, as some of you know, I had a live stream yesterday, and after the live stream was over, Jordan started texting me, and we had a nice conversation last night. He's been offering me a lot of advice on how to grow my channel and how to make things better and get more views and all that kind of stuff. And I've taken a lot of advice because let's face it, he's basically an expert on the subject. So I'd be kind of stupid not to follow his advice, especially when it sounds like it's really good advice. Well, the topic of last night's discussion was how I can grow my channel. He's kind of observed that my channel is kind of stagnated a little bit. It's stalled. I have the same number of people watching my videos every day, but I'm not really growing the channel in any significant way. And one of the things he suggested was that I should maybe go and do some sort of an epic vlog topic. He thinks that maybe a lot of the subjects I'm covering are maybe a little too niche for for a wide mass appeal, and he suggested maybe go find some subject in the area that everybody's heard of that you can talk about and provide some new angle on that. And I think that was a really good idea, and I think I'm going to probably do that. Now, he had a suggestion for a topic, and I think I'm going to probably do that. He suggested maybe doing it as early this week. Now, I think the topic is well known, but I only know a little bit about it, so I need to do some research because let's face it, if I'm going to do the subject, I kind of want to do it right, and I want to do it thorough and maybe provide something that nobody else has provided on this subject. So I got to do my homework a little bit. So it may be a week or two before I get to this one, but I do think it'll be a good subject, and hopefully it can help me grow my channel. This is one of these things that he acknowledged that I have a very loyal base of fans who watch all of my videos, and for that, I thank you all. This channel wouldn't be what it was without you. But now is the time, maybe hopefully, to grow it a little bit, and I got to do that by maybe covering some subjects that aren't, that are a little bit more have a little bit more mass appeal. And one of the ways to do that is to maybe pick a topic that everybody's heard of and maybe a lot of people would like to know more about, or maybe a lot of people know about it but have misinformation about it. And like I said, it's an interesting subject, and I think it's something I could spend a couple days on and really do a 3 or 4 day vlog on the subject and really cover the subject thoroughly. So I kind of got some, the wheels are kind of spinning right now, but like I said, I got to do my homework on that. Now, you're free to speculate on what the subject is, but please don't speculate in the comments section. I do want to keep it a surprise, but I think it'll be a good one. I have some ideas on what I want to do with it, and like I said, maybe we can grow the channel a little bit. It wouldn't hurt my feelings to get up to 100,000 subscribers like Jordan is getting to. So, just stick with me on that. We're gonna go forward on that, and I think it'll be interesting. And maybe we have to do a few of these epic vlogs here and see what we can come up with. But anyway, today I do think I want to go back to the First Street Cemetery and let's see if we can find Tom Davis's grave. As you recall, Tom Davis was one of the 5 people involved in that gunfight in Waco that happened about 100 years ago, and he was the only one we couldn't find. And I wrote it off at the time because Tom Davis is just a common name, but one of my viewers commented that they had found the grave in First Street Cemetery, or found reference to the grave in First Street Cemetery on Find a Grave. And I went there about a week or a week and a half ago and was unable to find it, and did another video, basically saying I couldn't find it. And then another viewer came in and said, this person's mother is in the grave, and it wasn't uncommon for families to be kind of buried together. So I think I know exactly where the mother is buried because that's one of about 17% of the markers in that cemetery that are actually listed on Find a Grave. So I have a pretty good idea where to look for that. So if it's in this area, then hopefully we'll be able to find it. So let's go over to First Street Cemetery and let's see if we can find the final resting place of Tom Davis. Now, the thing that makes me a little bit more optimistic about being able to find Tom this time, despite the fact that I haven't been able to in the past, is that I know approximately where his mother and his father are buried. And if they go with a tradition and the whole family is kind of buried in the same area, it's possible I'll be able to find it even if the grave isn't very well marked anymore. There's, like I said, a lot of the markers in there have really eroded over time. And this grave has been there for, more than 100 years. So hopefully we'll be able to find it. But I've got even if I can't find the entire name on the marker or anything like that, I've got birth dates and death dates. And so, hopefully we'll be able to find something that will get us very, very close. Like I said, his mother and father are buried in one area, and it's kind of enclosed with a brick enclosure. So, there's only maybe 30 or 40 square feet to search and probably only 8 or 10 markers to look at. So I'm hoping that this will be a successful trip this time. So let's go see what we can find. All right, here we are again. And you see that bricked in section there? I think that's where we're looking to go. So let's go check that out. All right, so this is clearly the Davis family plot because there's a lot of family members of Tom Davis in here. So this is Thomas's father, James Francis Davis, who was elected Chief Justice of McClellan County, served on the committee for the new McClellan County Courthouse, and was district attorney here in Waco. Right next to her father is Florence E. Davis. That was one of Thomas's sisters. She died at the ripe old age of 18. Apparently she was mishandling a firearm and ended up shooting herself through the heart. Died instantly. That was kind of sad. She had no children or anything like that. 17 years, 3 months, 7 days. This is another one of Thomas's sisters. This is Irene Davis. She got married, and she had a child who was stillborn who is buried right next to her. This is the grave of Thomas's daughter, Nellie. She died at the ripe old age of 8 years old. Kind of sad. Born in 1895, died in 1904. And this was a marker I'd kind of put the most faith in as being the final resting place of Thomas. However, when I did some rubbing on the grave, it's clearly William A. Davis there. And Find a Grave doesn't tell me specifically who he is relative to everyone else, but they're all in the Davis cemetery. That's the father and sister. That's another sister, and Thomas's daughter. So he's someone related to it, but it's unsure who he is. But there aren't any other graves in here so far as I can see. At least not ones that have markers in here. It's possible that he might be in here somewhere. He is supposedly here somewhere in the cemetery, but I have not been able to find any markers for him in here or anywhere else. Now, interestingly enough, just outside the Davis family plot is this marker here for infant son Davis. And apparently infant son was the son of LL and CB Davis. Now, I can't find any reference who they are related to, if there's any connection whatsoever to the rest of the Davis family. But I just found it interesting that they was so close to the Davis family plot. And all the other markers in the immediate area are other families. So, yeah, I don't know. If he's not in here, and it's possible he's in here and just the marker's been lost to time. It looks like, based on the layout of this place, there's kind of a symmetry here. There's 2 stones over there. There's this big one in the middle here, a couple of them over here, but there's a big empty spot over here where, he could be, and maybe just the marker's gone over time. Now, one of the interesting things I discovered when I was looking for Thomas Davis's grave was that this cemetery used to actually be much larger. They actually relocated a large part of the cemetery so that they could so that they could construct the Texas Ranger Museum, which is like right there. It used to go all the way to the river, And so it's very possible that Thomas's grave was actually in the area that was taken over by the museum. See, that's the Texas Ranger Museum, and if you look at that kind of big tall skyscraper looking building over there, that's the McLean Stadium, which is actually on the other side of the river. So yeah, the cemetery went all the way to the river at one point, and probably looks like a good half of it was turned into the Texas Ranger Museum. Now, one of the interesting stories I read when I was researching this whole thing was that at one point there was an African American section of this cemetery, which when they relocated all the stuff, they basically just did a poltergeist and just moved the markers and left the bodies. So there's probably like people buried under this parking lot or under that building over there somewhere.
You son of a bitch, you moved the cemetery, but you left the bodies, didn't you? You son of a bitch, you left the bodies and you only moved the headstones! You only moved the headstones! Why?
So unfortunately, this may end up being the final chapter on the search for Thomas Davis's grave. Unless some new information comes up that I haven't discovered so far. It, like I said, the grave could be in here somewhere. The marker just might be gone, or maybe he was buried somewhere else. Like I said, it does seem interesting that the father, two of the siblings, and his daughter are all buried here, and yet he isn't. So who knows? And like I said, I never did figure out who William A. Davis is. Find a Grave doesn't seem to offer a whole lot of information on that. There's a lot of information that says, the relationship between the father and the daughter and the granddaughter here, but no mention of William A. So who knows? All right, so here's like a historical marker that I found that actually discusses some of the stuff that happened. I'm actually going to kind of pick it up in the middle here. Fences were never erected to establish a set of boundaries, and accurate burial records were not kept. In the 1890s, burials were dug in tiers, which resulted in the disturbance of previous burials. In 1968, after years of neglect, the Waco City Council voted to relocate the graves and/or markers in the lower terrace of the cemetery to the upper terrace. The lower terrace became a recreational campground known as Fort Fisher Park. In 2000, the campground was closed. Yeah, can you imagine spending a night at a campground called Fisher Park and not knowing that there were bodies beneath you? Anyway, in 2000, the construction of the Texas Ranger Museum Company F headquarters and educational center began in the lower terrace. During the construction, remains were discovered indicating that only headstones were relocated in 1968. Remains excavated between 2007 and 2010 were reinterred at Rosemount Cemetery. To eliminate future disturbances of the remains at First Street Cemetery, the city rededicated the cemetery on December 7th, 2010. The cemetery is designated as a historical cemetery and as a state antiquities landmark. Interesting. So this is all the upper terrace over here. And then down here where the Texas Ranger Museum, I guess this is the lower terrace. Like I said, they discovered a bunch of bodies when they were constructing this place and moved them to another cemetery, but who knows, there's probably still other bodies in here. Just for fun, since we're here, let's walk down to the Brazos River to get kind of a true bearing on how big this area used to be. Digging the foundations for these buildings, this would be the area where they might have excavated bodies, but in all these open areas and this parking lot out here, it's likely there's probably still bodies there, because I doubt they excavated every square inch of this territory looking for it. So yeah, so this cemetery went all the way from that area way back where you can see behind the parking lot there, all the way down here to the river. This was all the lower terrace area where bodies and or headstones were moved. And of course then there's McLean Stadium across the river. mouse. I think we're going to have to declare the final resting place of Tom Davis is just an unknown at this point. Like I said, he may still be in the family plot, but I haven't been able to find him, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of information where he may be. Like I said, he could be in this area here where I'm walking, and we just don't know anymore. So anyway, pending additional information on the final resting place of Tomness, I think we're going to have to declare this case closed and end this vlog for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.